Hey everyone, I'm Natasha. My husband does the carving and I do the painting. So today we're taking a quick look at how to paint your wood Christmas goblin ornament. I prefer to use the folk art paints. I find that they are a bit higher quality and less plasticky looking than some other craft paints, and they also have better coverage. So the most important color for this project for an authentic look is the citrus green. This is a very bright looking green, but after all of our layering, it is going to look fantastic. Some people really water down their paints, but I prefer to just use a little bit of water. I always start with a wet brush and I re-wet the brush as necessary. So adding a bit of water can make it lose some of that plasticky shine that you can get with these craft paints. Watering it down more can give it a semi-transparent look, and I just prefer a slightly more opaque level of coverage. A lot of carvers struggle with painting, so if you want to help out fellow carvers and make sure this video gets seen, please leave it a thumbs up. For the darker green areas of the nose and the eyebrow ridge, I used jungle green, and it looks in the bottle pretty similar to classic green, but it actually looks very different on the figure. And jungle green, in my opinion, looks way better and is definitely the best choice for those darker areas on this piece. I used two different white paints on this Christmas goblin figure. So I used a titanium white on the brim of the hat and on the ball of the hat. But then that little forelock of hair there, I did use a vintage white. You could do this the dark green as well. I like the contrast with the vintage white, and I used that instead of titanium, so there's a bit of difference between the hair forelock and the brim of the hat. Moon yellow looks great as the base for the eyes, so paint that whole eyeball area with this bright moon yellow color. Yellow tends to have poor coverage, so you may want to do 2 or even 3 coats here. I used imperial red on the hat, and I recommend a flat or an angle brush for most of the hat painting, with a detail brush in the crevices as needed. Now, after you have base coated everything and it is all completely dry, it's time to do a wash. So for the wash on this one, I like to do dark brown mixed with a little bit of black and a whole lot of water. Then I use this sort of large floppy brush to put the wash into the cracks, into the recessed areas. You can brush it everywhere if you want to, but focus on getting into those recesses to bring depth to the carving. I used Posca PC1MR paint pens for the eyes, but you could use paint and a detail brush. Now, a common mistake I see when you're doing the black portion of the eye, iris, which is black in this case, is they put it as a ball in the middle, so you can see white, or in this case yellow, all the way around. And this gives your figure a very surprised or scared look. It's much more realistic if you can't see the entire black. Put a half circle up at the top of the eye so you can only see yellow at the bottom. Once the black is totally dry, you can add a highlight, and this really brings your carving to life. Try to add that dot in the same relative location on each of the black sections. After this is all totally dry, including the wash, you are ready to dry brush. For dry brushing, you need a brush that is kind of frayed, kind of stiff, and probably flat. So like an old flat brush can work, or if you have a round brush that's really old, sometimes you can cut the bristles off to make a good dry brush. You just have to experiment to see what you like. So you're gonna get some paint on your paintbrush and then wipe it off on a paper towel several times until there's almost no paint left. And then you're gonna lightly paint over the highlight areas, the raised portions of your carving. You can actually pick up some of the wood grain texture. So even areas where you haven't added any details or ridges, you can still bring out some details with this dry brushing. Once again, wait for everything to dry. Then you can hit it with a clear coat. I like to use clear Krylon. A very important tip for this is you want to make sure that your spray paint is warm, but that your carving is not in direct light. The warmth of the paint helps it go on smoothly, but it can frost up and look powdery or foggy if you spray in the sun. So you can set your can of spray paint into a thing of hot water and then come outside and spray it in the shade. And that's it. There is your painted wood Christmas goblin ornament. If you would like to see something longer, more in depth, please leave a comment and let me know. Thanks so much for watching.